astonishing!
Look at it, it's so small, it's a little roller skate. It's not scary, it's cute. I could put it in my pocket.
It sounds like a jet.
Look at its little bubble cockpit and stubby little aerial.
Wow!
Isn't it adorable?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You know what this is, what it can do. You'll have seen it ripping up the Goodwood Hill like it's on fast forward, seen what 1,000 horsepower can do to 1,000 kilos when it's accompanied by 2,000 kilos of downforce.
At this point, I need to introduce you to a special guest. You see, we need to talk about aerodynamics and downforce, and currently, Porsche's GT3 RS is at the cutting edge of this. F1 doesn't really do it any differently. This develops 860 kilos of downforce at 186 miles an hour. But all of these massive aerodynamic devices create drag. This doesn't actually accelerate very fast. But look over here. Look at the McMurtry Spéirling and how tiny it is alongside the Porsche. And yet this develops 2,000 kilos of downforce standing still. It's basically a giant vacuum cleaner, and it uses fans to suck itself to the ground. But it's not the first fan-assisted car.
Gordon Murray has a habit of putting them on his. Brabham BT46B, McLaren F1, GMA T50. What they offer is downforce without the penalty of drag. That, as far as aerodynamics is concerned, is the holy grail.
McMurtry has drawn inspiration from all of that, but then thrown away the rulebook. You see, this is not a race car, and yet it's probably faster than any of them. This particular car, in fact, which is the current Goodwood Hill Climb record holder. And I can't see anything beating its time of 39.08 seconds anytime soon, except possibly this, which is a development of that, and potentially even faster. However, this is not the final production version. When that comes out, it will have a slightly longer wheelbase to create room for a bigger 100 kilowatt hour battery and storage for your helmet and overalls.
That'll also be a little heavier, probably 1,200 kilos, most of which will be the bigger battery. But let's have a good poke around it, just not too much of a poke, because with 16 patents granted and more in the pipeline, it's all a bit confidential.
I've had a bit of a peer underneath, and there seems to be some sort of flexible skirt that rides along the ground. It's about the rough scale and dimension of the driver. It's in the middle of the car. Tubes from there then run up through this flank to the fans themselves, which are actually based in here. And the air is then forced out the back through these flaps. Now, while I'm around here, let me show you a couple of other bits and pieces. These fans here are not the suction fans. They are just cooling fans for the rest of the car. Couple of other bits though. Look, that's the charge port behind there, and this is part of the F1 style crash structure.
There is conventional downforce too, the rear wing mainly there to move the centre of balance rearwards, meaning friendly understeer at the limit rather than scary oversteer. Compared with the first generation car, it's wider, has more stance and attitude, helped by slick tyres each 60mm wider than before. There's a 500 horsepower electric motor for each rear wheel. Inside there's space for one, and it's tiny. Lots of padding, including LMP1 safety plinths either side of your head. Getting in and out ain't easy, but once you're strapped in, ideally with someone's help, you feel secure and cocooned, and the view out is bright and expansive.
So what's it going to be like? Well, potentially quite head-scrambling, I reckon, but also quite reassuring, because the problem when I drive cars with conventional downforce is working out where the grip levels are. But here, the promise is 3G of cornering force no matter what the corner. The team has said that if I spin, all I should do is nail the brakes as hard as I can and it'll stop in a couple of car lengths. Spin? I'm worried I'm not going to get close to it.
Right, so here we are on board the McMurtry Spéirling. Wow! Well, firstly, the vision out of it is just amazing. Although it's tiny, it's tight in here, it feels like you've got a really good field of vision. Anyway, so we're going to build up to it. And just so I get myself bedded in, I'm just going to go straight down the runway and do a bit of slalom just to see what it feels like. on slick. So that's fan at 17. Oh my word, that is... As quickly as you can turn the steering wheel, that is astonishing. Wow! Oh my God! So I'm running about 500 horsepower. They've basically said it's sort of GT3 mode at the moment. Oh, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Oh, I don't know what G-force I'm pulling. I don't particularly care. It's not in maximum mode. It's still amazing. Right, we're going up through the mode. So we've gone from GT car to LMP1 type grip. Okay, now at 21,000 on the fans. Oh my word. When do you ever talk about that as a thing? Wowee! It just doesn't slow down. That's the most amazing thing about it. I mean, your head gets rolled around. Maybe I should try and press it back harder. That's incredible. Right, going to maximum fans for F1 grip. Oh my word, you feel it. That is extraordinary. Wowee! Hold on! I'm coming! This is amazing! Oh, it's such a wild ride! Roller coasters have got nothing on this! I've got my own personal one!
Beyond the frankly otherworldly speed, there's an immense sense of connection here. The Spéirling communicates its grip levels very clearly, and you feel how small it is and how light. It's like putting on a superhero suit. Inside you feel that you have complete dominance over everything around you, operate at a level far beyond anything else. It's not so much a car as a cheat code.
I actually found this okay to get my head around because the grip is always there. You know, if you spin, you're basically driving a suction cup that is just going to pull itself to ground. All you do is bury the brakes and hold on.
I never did spin it, but after a while I realised the physical toll it was taking on me. My mental processing could barely keep up and I was getting tunnel vision. So I backed off and took it gently for a few laps.
The difference between all off and all on is absolutely mind-bending. You would have such a good time driving this around fans off and still running rings around things. I was so surprised by it. When you turn the fans off, the steering weight lightens up, you sense the whole car sort of perk up a bit and leap up off the deck. It feels softer and more comfortable, but at the same time, this is nice. I quite like driving it with the fans off, but I cannot believe what a difference the fans make. I mean, yeah, you've still got extraordinary things, but you've got so much more understeer, so much more movement in the car with them off. Right, I've got used to it a bit now. Shall we go GT3 RS baiting?
Now, the GT3 RS is a hilariously fast track car. We've had one pull over 2G under braking, nearly 1.8 through fast corners. It's the pinnacle of road-legal track cars. But look how much faster the McMurtry is through Chicago. And as for Hammerhead, the Spéirling just drove straight round the outside. Okay, so that's what the Spéirling can do to a GT3 RS around corners. Shall we see what it can do to it in a straight line? And for this we're going to use the silver car. Why? Because driving two McMurtrys is better than one.
So let's just see how fast this thing is, and to do that we are going to do a drag race. And I am in not the blue car but the original car, the silver car, because this is the car that holds the Goodwood hill climb record. It is probably one of the fastest accelerating cars on Earth, and we're going to go and see just how fast that is.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hey, that's hilarious! That is just... I now know what it feels like to be in a space shuttle. My word, that is amazing. This thing accelerates like a flicked pea. I can't imagine it's any more exciting being strapped to the front of a Saturn V. That is remarkable.
Here's just how fast the Spéirling is. 0 to 60 took 1.38 seconds, less than half the time of the Porsche. Hitting 100 miles an hour in 2.61 puts it a second ahead of the next fastest car we've ever tested, Volkswagen's IDR Pikes Peak. The Porsche will be along another 3 seconds after that. Although limited to 148 miles an hour at the moment, the McMurtry crested 150 on momentum alone and got there in about 200 metres. It then sat on the limiter for 2.5 seconds before crossing the quarter mile. By that stage the Porsche was 3 seconds back, but as its speed increased, so did its drag, slowing down its rate of acceleration. It takes 3 times as long to get to 150 as the Spéirling. But let's park the record holder up and get back in the second gen car for one last go.
Listen to those fans fire up, that's amazing. So look at the way it changes direction. I mean, this would be dynamite through an elk test. Right, off we go, follow through. Wowee! Okay, over and out onto the main straight. Brave pills. Now they have said the surface change in second to last basically means you get half the downforce. Then you get out onto the main straight and off you go. Oh my word, look at this. 123 miles an hour. The biggest issue is telling yourself to let go of the brakes at ridiculous speeds. But you can do it. You can genuinely do it.
It took me a bit of time after I'd driven to process what was going on, why it gave me such confidence. It's the grip, not just the communication of how much you've got, but how consistent it is. Whatever the corner, you have got 3G of lateral grip available. At the moment it probably feels too much like a racer. The cabin ideally needs a cleaner aesthetic. You need to be able to run it without engineers in order to appeal to the same audience as other hypercars. Me? I survived. You'd survive too. Sometimes I had to rest my head through corners, but that's what the plinths are there for. And you don't have to go flat out. But you find yourself wanting to, giving yourself over to the grip. I've said before that grip is dull, but not when it's this exuberant, this riotous, this exhilarating. The Spéirling can push you as hard as you could ever want to be pushed, but above all it's a happy little car, this shrunken Batmobile, this rocketing roller skate. It never tries to show you how fearsome its performance is, just takes you along for the ride. I found it absolutely captivating. I'm a fanboy.